don't know if you guys know J.B. Pritzker, the governor of
J.B.
Chicago.
Pritzker, yeah, for sure.
So their family's worth $42 billion. He's worth $3 billion himself. And as the governor of Illinois, he just recently awarded nearly $1 billion to, if you could pull up that article, Kelly, nearly $1 billion to the company Rivian, whose stock price is down by like 70% over the last 2 years.
Damn.
And, $1 billion is almost 10% of their market cap. And this is like a microcosm of what's happening with EVs. So if you go to this next chart, this shows all the EV companies over the last 2 years. So all but one are down like anywhere from 50 to 90%.
What's the orange one on the bottom? I can't see
Pritzker?
that.
Fisker. Yeah, I would have tanked.
Yeah, bad. So that's down 98%. The only one that's up positive, they use hydrogen technology. So not exactly EV motors, but anyway, so EV cars have nearly 80% more problems than regular cars, and plug-in hybrid cars have 150% more problems. But the government is trying to prop this stuff up by pumping money into it. So it's like Wall Street's rejecting it while the government's trying to prop it up. And if you could go to the next chart to show for the people who think it's better for the environment.
Can I make a comment on the
go ahead.
tech issues?
Go
with
right.
EV? I own a Tesla.
Have you ever gotten locked into it, by the way? Because I heard that.
No, but my mom says one day when I say things in the Tesla the government doesn't agree with, they'll lock me out of my own car.
They'll
keep
drive
talking
your,
shit
they'll
stupid.
drive your car into a tree is what they're going to do.
Well, that's what the people said happened to Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law, God rest her soul, but it turns out she was just drunk and passed, or allegedly drinking and drove into a lake. But I have owned 2 Teslas. I totaled one. That was my own fault. I was driving too fast in the rain. Kept me safe. I've only spent money on my vehicle. I don't know what you guys spend a year on upkeeping your vehicles. The only money that I've spent on a Tesla in owning it in 2.5 years has been a $75 tire rotation, and that is it.
Yeah.
And it's not like I rarely drive. I've got 70,000 miles on that vehicle in 2 years. I drive a lot, which is why I bought one. So when people point that out, I'm like, okay, I hear that. But for my own personal experiences with 2 separate Teslas, the total amount of 4 years of car ownership has been 2 tire rotations at $75 a pop. There's no fluids in the vehicles. There's no oil. There's no oil changes. There's no brake changes. So for everything, I'm like, well, yeah, you say that, but I spent $150 in car maintenance in 4 years.
And what do you do? Is it hybrid or you just charge?
No, it just charges into my house, and I have a deal with FPL, the electric company, that my electric bill every month is $400 every month, so I can crank my air as cold as I want it. I could charge 18 Teslas at my house.
Yeah.
I'm paying. That's why I got one, because it makes sense for the amount of driving that I do. So when you point at stats like that, I'm like, I understand that, but I understand that that's what the stats say, but my personal experience is so different from that.
Yeah. No, yeah, Teslas are, it seems, higher quality than a lot of them. But so question, is that your electric bill because of the tax credit with the deal of having an electric car? And is that
No, that was strictly with FPL, because it was, hey, you can pay, because some months my electric bill, because I got a family that for some reason loves to turn lights on and then leave rooms and not shut them off. I know, and I never understood why my dad bitched about that as much as I do. Like now I get it. I go, I get it, Pops, because it drives you nuts. I spend half my day going around shutting lights off. And so it got to the point where FPL's like, look, some months your bill's like $500. We have this program where it's $400 is flat rate no matter how much you use every month, but it's only $400. So for me, I go, yeah, I hear that those cars cost more, and it does. To own a Tesla, it was like a $60,000 investment. But the amount of money that I've saved for the amount of driving that I do on fuel and upkeep, for me, I go, I don't see how that makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of them, they'll either have problems when it's too hot or too cold, or if the battery goes, it's basically like the price of a new car if you have to replace the battery.
That's true, but that's after like 10 years. But okay, sorry. I didn't mean to derail your segment.
No, you're good.
When I hear that, I go,
no, it's good to have
that firsthand experience, Tesla, I'm with you, buddy. That fantastic car.
I was going to go at least on the chart before. Did I see that one of the cars was called Nikola?
Yeah.
That's the hydrogen one?
Tesla.
Yeah.
But is there any relation between Nikola and Tesla? Because that's not funny.
Not that I know, but yeah, I see what you mean, like, because they're both his name.
Yeah, well, it was Nikola Tesla was Elon.
So that's the one that went on, and that's the hydrogen car you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
But so this is basically saying that Wall Street and the market is sort of rejecting this, the fact that they're all going down in unison, because the government's pumping a ton of money into it. They put like an average of $10,000 to $50,000 per EV in subsidies into electric cars. So the fact that it's got like the full force of the government behind it and it's still struggling to this degree, and the climate argument, so these green bubbles, that shows the materials that go into an EV. The black bubbles are a traditional car. So for anybody who says that's better for the environment, that's like the amount of natural resources and metals that we have to mine to put into one of these cars.
Does that include what's required in order to charge the vehicle?
No, that's just raw materials.
Because I keep asking, I asked the question rhetorically online, like, how do you charge the vehicles? It's like either coal burning plants, hydro. It's nice to have a green tool. Something's got to charge that tool, and people don't seem to understand what exactly is that which charges the cars.
Well, and the egregious thing too, like, and like the reason that this pisses me off is because of what we talked about last week, how the government's actively suppressing methods of energy that are much more efficient than electric cars and solar panels. So it's extremely wasteful. And if you go, so this chart right here, there's a global plan to spend $200 trillion over the next 20 years to hit net zero emissions, which is, and those blue lines represent the money spent on EVs that they plan from now until 2050. But it's ridiculous and a massive waste of money and resources because of the fact that we have this technology. It's much better than electric vehicles, much better than solar, but we're not only not using it, but people who have created it have been murdered over the last 100 years.
Weird.
And it's just a tragedy to see like where we could be versus where we are right now and where we're gonna be if we let these global players waste this amount of money. Like they're creating a method to which they could extract taxpayer money and siphon it off to themselves over the next 20 years under the guise of climate change.
I was gonna say, so like all these EV companies, their stock is all being invested in by green politicians, like by Democrats and
Green
by
New
people.
Deal.
And then they take taxpayer money and just inject it into those companies,
Right.
inflating their stock value, inflating their own wallets.
Exactly.
And it's just this like if you were a little bit less charitable, you could say the whole thing is a scam to just bring in money on the side and just complete like it's the climate change thing is the perfect excuse to create this whole industry that can't even survive on its own, but that you miraculously also are invested in. You're making money off.
Well, if I put on my brain tinfoil hat here, it seems that it's all directly or indirectly intended to benefit China. And not to bring it all back to China, but I'm looking at that graph and like, okay, net zero emissions where? Because the minerals required for the batteries are still coming from mines abroad, in which either China directly owns or has an interest. You got to get those cars to where they can be used for zero emissions. They got to get there somehow on ships and whatever. So it doesn't seem like it actually results in net zero emissions whatsoever. It just relocates where the pollution is coming from.
Redistributes it.
But also, what's going to charge those cars? I mean, California now, as it is, can barely provide air conditioning, power for air conditioning.
Yeah.
How the hell are they going to charge those cars by 2050? To me, it seems like a money laundering scheme, but it seems like it's indirectly intended to benefit China. And I do wonder if it's, direct loyalty from members of our government. In Canada, I would have stronger suspicions. Or it's as a result of Chinese interests infiltrating American politics and steering things towards China's financial interests.
It's not as if China can get away with murder. They have been for the past how many years? China is, bro, I'm telling you right now, I have a feeling that deep state that you were talking about is 100% intertwined with China, and China's in charge. Who do we owe the most money to?
China.
China.
And creditors.
Where did the pandemic, where did COVID come from? China. Did China have they been held
1.2 million deaths, 1,219,487 deaths due to coronavirus, if you believe the numbers in the United States. China killed 1.2 million Americans, and we've done nothing about it.
And I love that you said that. What a great tactical little freaking a chess move. And by the way, we owe them money. We can't say shit.
Buying up land in America,
like next to military bases. It's almost as if
flying balloons,
donating to Harvard,
and
supplying Harvard's endowment.
By the way, and because who was it that said F Ukraine? Who was that?
Candace, I think.
Was it Candace Owens?
Yeah.
She said that. I'm going to say this. Fuck China, okay? That has nothing to do with Chinese people. I have Chinese friends. Fuck. I'm sick and tired of them just getting away with literal murder and nobody saying nothing. How the hell do we right now cannot say definitively, no more of this? Well, the reports are leaning towards, we think it's still not 2024. It's still not definite. They still haven't publicly said it. It's China. Who was it? What happened? And now let's move forward, because now it can still happen again.
Well, but also, I think the issue would be it's not just China, because the gain of function research that they were doing at Wuhan was being indirectly subsidized or financed by American NGOs or third-party NGOs through Fauci. So I think it is the cabal. And
it is the cabal.
They are certainly China's using the cabal, and the cabal's using China to retain power, because in retrospect, there's not a doubt in my mind that whether or not there was a virus that was worse than a standard bad flu season, it was weaponized to get Donald Trump out of power because Donald Trump was the biggest political and ideological threat to China.
Weird.
And all these things they're doing are building the world in which they could have more control. Like whether it's devaluing, destroying our money, or making creating crypto to create a CBDC, or forcing electric vehicles upon us, where they could remotely shut off the vehicles, or they mandate that kill switch gets put into every electric vehicle that's built after the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh, they're trying, Brian.
Yeah.
Brandon, they're pulling out all the stops because everything once it's connected digitally, all they gotta do is go, Rob's talking shit.
yeah.
Off,
But they can't do it
off.
They can't do it that quickly, so they have to do it in small baby
Increments.
steps. So it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's that big of a flip. Like they were talking about putting regulators on cars in California and shut-off valves or shut-off switches. So if they go over a certain amount of miles per hour, they'll shut the vehicle off.
Yeah.
So most people look at it and go, well, you know what? There's no reason why anybody should be going 130 miles per hour. So I guess that's not that big of a deal. But then they use that to then make the next move of, oh, by the way, if you eat too much meat one day, we're going to shut your car off and you can't drive to the
Right.
store.
Well,
But they take all those baby steps to get you accustomed to it so that it's not that big of a leap.
you're a
And then all of a sudden
conspiracy
you look back, it's not here to here. It's here, 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 here. Now we're here.
Like the rule of bankruptcy, it happens slowly, then all at once. There's an island off the coast of Quebec, Ile de la Madeleine, which is tinkering with the idea of imposing a QR code for people to leave the island because they want to charge a tourist tax to people visiting the island. It's a tiny island. You got to get there by boat. So then in order to make sure that the residents don't have to pay the tax, well, just download a QR code and you'll show your QR code if you want to leave the island and you won't pay the tax. There was a woman who actually, protested this at a town hall meeting, and it was like, well, what's the big deal? It's a small island. It's not going to concern me. Baby steps, and then they get you sensitized to it in small circumstances, then they apply it more broadly, and then they change the object of the reason for which it was implemented.
I hate that shit. I hate, just like as Scott was saying, he's like, I saw this little wokeness starting in the 90s, and I knew that fucker was going to take over. And like, that's true, though. Like, I hate when people say, oh, it doesn't bother you. Why do you care? It's just a small little thing. It's like, it's the principle. If you can begin to switch your mind to start realizing that principles matter, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't affect you right now, if it has the potential to, then it matters.
Yeah.
If it's following a bad principle, like the QR code to leave a place, if that alone is enough to destroy that thing.
And nobody cares about it until it's their kid who says, I want puberty
And
blockers
it's
at the age
late.
of 14, and the parents can't say no because the law was recently changed to change the rules of parental supremacy.
People like us
That
can see
happened,
its
that happened in
logical,
Quebec also. By the way.
Yeah.
people like us could see its logical conclusion if we start tolerating things like this. We see where it's going to go in a few years.
Yeah. You have to oppose something like everything affects everything. So I hate that argument. Oh, it just doesn't affect you. Everything will affect everything eventually. So you have a stake in everything that happens, and you should care.
Exactly. Gay marriage was illegal in all 50 states 20 years ago. Then, now here we are where toddlers are getting taught transgender shit in preschool because we
sex
allowed it in
marriages.
each state.
Oh yeah. Like somebody messaged me about the Pride Month, and like they were furious on Manek. He's like, "What the Pride? What are you like? Okay, you're gay, congratulations, but you're in a G-string, naked in the street grinding.
Get over
Yeah.
it.
Like that is one of the most I think, and I forgot the person's name on Manek. I wish I could remember it. They're like, Vinny, why don't we just take over that month and have it like just be you and be normal, a family something day to try to combat this disgusting like behavior in the street. Like, listen, again, and I'll go backwards. When I say F China, it has nothing to do with Chinese. It's not racist. China, the leader, when he's just smiling, that piece of shit, I don't like him. And when I talk and stuff about Pride Month, you shouldn't be prideful about anything. When people are like, I'm proud to be this. George Carlin said it the best. He goes, what are you proud of? He goes, you shouldn't be proud of something like I'm like accident, like by birth, I'm a Syrian. You shouldn't be proud of anything. Pride should be reserved for something that you achieve or attain on your own. I'm proud. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Like you should have, like there should be Family Pride Month where if you're gay, straight, black, white, Chinese, doesn't matter. If you are part of a family, you celebrate that that familial unit proudly. That's something to be proud about.
Yeah.
That you're raising children, you're giving them good values, you're teaching them good morals, you're teaching them the repercussions of consequences. So why wouldn't we celebrate that and have a parade and a month dedicated to that?
A month.
Instead, it's like, oh, you're gay, dildos.
Yeah.
In
What
the
do you mean?
streets.
In Los Angeles, they had I'm not joking. They had a truck with a crucifix, and some gay dude was on it as Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be surprised if that guy got struck by a lightning since then.
Was it Lil Nas? No, because he did that. He did that sacrilegious.
Well, this was in West
Alpha
Hollywood, and they go up and down the street, and it's perversion. It's disgusting. What other group? By the way, any other day, any other month, if you're outside in a G-string in the street shaking your crotch, you're gonna get arrested. Period.